Hi everyone, welcome back to Gardening from Square One. And if you are new here, welcome. Today I want to chat about 5 plants that just have not done well for us here in Zone 8B, where our summers, they're hot, and most of the rainfall that we receive occurs during the spring and fall, which means we are typically dealing with droughts during the summer months. Although this year has been very different, it is the beginning of August right now, and our current forecast, our temperatures even today, the high is going to be 88 degrees and the lows, it's in the 70s. Now, the lows being in the 70s, that's typical for this area. Like when we hit 95, our lows are typically in the 70s. So it does cool down. It doesn't stay hot 24 hours. But what is unusual is we typically receive about 36 to 40 inches of rain annually. We received 10 inches over the course of a few hours in the beginning of July. And it actually rained yesterday and it rained this morning. But despite that, I am thinking, like many of you, about fall planting. Going through the magazines, we've even placed orders online already for fall shipments. And so I thought it would be a good time to share some of the experiences that I have with these 5 plants to hopefully help you avoid some pitfalls or maybe even lead you to discover some plants that could be just perfect for your own garden. So let's get started. First up is gardenias. Now, this is a favorite plant for many, and it brings up cherished childhood memories for me as it reminds me of my dad, as he would often place one bloom in his car to perfume its air. Because it's a favorite, you all know I try to grow this plant in my hot summer, droughty climate in my alkaline clay soil. Now, first off, gardenias like bright indirect light, so full sun in a hot climate is just a no. But it's not impossible to find the correct sun exposure for plants. However, the alkaline clay soil, that's the problem. Gardenias need acidic soil, so somewhere around 6.0, and not slightly acidic soil. This plant also likes to be consistently moist, not waterlogged. About the only thing in my garden, and maybe yours, that can keep a gardenia somewhat happy in one aspect is giving it some humidity. My days of trying to grow gardenias, at least here, those days have passed. Next is perennial hibiscus. Now, this plant has large, dramatic, gorgeous flowers that bloom throughout the summer, and the plants themselves can be shorter or taller. The blooms can come in a variety of colors, and it requires full sun and can take the heat in most climates. The more sun perennial hibiscus plants receive, the better they tend to flower. Hibiscus can create an excellent focal point, and they tend to be hardy down to zones 4 and can be grown all the way up to zone 9. But y'all, one thing I wanted to mention, these plants are water hogs. It is yet another plant we do not grow here. However, if you have the right conditions, so ample rainfall, or you have the ability to give this plant the water it requires, perennial hibiscus can produce an impressive display of blooms that will appear throughout the summer, enhancing the beauty of just about any landscape. Next up is buttonbush, so Cephalanthus occidentalis. The buttonbush is a deciduous shrub that grows anywhere from about 3 to 4 feet to over 10 feet in height. One of the distinctive features of this plant is its spherical flower clusters, which looks like small buttons. The flowers are highly attractive to pollinators, including bees and butterflies. It has a rounded, bushy form with dense dark green leaves that are oval and glossy. This plant did not survive 2 weeks during the summer here. In this hot summer climate, plants that could have an issue with the summer heat are best planted in the fall because it gives the roots more time to establish before the summer heat. But I would not try it again for this reason alone. Buttonbush is primarily found in wetland areas such as swamps, marshes, and along riverbanks. So it needs water, moisture, and that is what's going to make it a hard pass. Next up is Arborvitae. This one is so disappointing. It is definitely in my top 5 shrub and tree picks for beauty, and I know so many of you adore these shrubs or trees as well. But what a problem it has been. So there are two main types that you'll see. The Eastern Arbs, they tend to be hardy in zones 3 to 7, and those were never on the list. And then there are the Western Arborvitae, so the Thuja plicata, known as the Western red cedar. Now, this plant is found in the Pacific Northwest. Pacific Northwest is hint number 1. So we planted the Virginian, actually 3 of them to begin with, and then a 4th. Arbs prefer full sun to part shade. And just to give a little recommendation, if you garden in a hot climate and you have a plant that may prefer moist soil, definitely put it in part shade. These plants can tolerate a variety of soils, so that wasn't an issue. Young plants need adequate watering. So it was pampered. All 3 of the initial arbs, they were pampered. Now, in the second iteration, because only one survived the first, the young plant on the left was infested with ants, and we believe that caused an issue as this plant was trying to establish. However, the plant on the right, it didn't survive either, nor did the 4th plant that was added. So where the 4th plant is, we just planted this juniper. But with all of this said, the tater tot arborvitae is doing well. The rabbits are even kind of leaving it alone for the most part. So for arbs, we want to pay attention to the growing requirements, as clearly growing culture is key, and in some gardens and areas, I'm guessing it can just be finicky. So if any of you have a secret for growing arbs, please share. Last is Amsonia. Now, Amsonia is a perennial plant that has narrow land-shaped leaves, and they produce clusters of star-shaped flowers. Amsonia is generally hardy in USDA zones 3 to 9, so ideally it should or could be perfect for many climates. Flowers are usually blue or pale blue, which gives it its common name of blue star. It'll have gorgeous fall color. It'll turn golden yellow, and it tends to bloom more profusely in full sun, as it's reported. So it received morning sun until about noon or so, and then it was in full shade. I never saw a single flower. I've no doubt that this plant survived somewhere, just not in this garden. Well, that is it for the 5 plants we are not running out to buy and add to this garden. I hope you found some of this information useful. Please consider clicking like, subscribe, and notifications. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day in your garden. Bye.